Good morning and welcome to my kitchen. It's time to make the most delicious cinnamon swirl tear and share bread. Right, cinnamon swirl tear and share bread. My son Thomas's absolute favourite. He loves a good cinnamon swirl. We've taken it to the next level. So, bit of a bread lesson this morning. So, we've got some strong bread flour, okay? So, we're going to make like almost leaning towards a brioche. Not quite. I've got a little bit of custard powder. Now, if you want all the ingredients, I'll get Carlos to put them down the side here so you can see all the ingredients. Follow this episode and you'll be able to make it. Or you can buy the book. It's entirely up to you. Right, in with a little bit of caster sugar.
Just go back on the custard powder. What does that do?
So the custard powder just kind of enriches it. And with brioche, you add eggs. And custard powder is made out of eggs. So I thought, well, we could just blend that all the way through the flour and get a really nice vanilla-y flavour through the bread really easily. Because eggs tend to weigh dough down, which means you have to add more yeast to counterbalance the enrichment of eggs and butter and things like that. So, 10 grams of yeast. I'm using dried yeast today. And then I've got 85 grams of salted butter here. So this is where it would sort of weight the dough down a little bit, and that's why you need to add more yeast. So normally with a loaf of bread, 7 grams of dried yeast or a sachet would do the trick. But because we've added butter and enriched it, it just needs a little bit more lift. So we've edged the recipe up to 10 grams, okay? Remember, I think this was one of the first images we did for the new book, Emily.
I think it was. It was the
when
very
we
first
said,
one.
right, yeah, let's do the book.
Yeah.
I think this was our first one.
Yeah, it was. You're very right.
Because we posted some behind the scenes shots and
Yeah.
stuff, and actually it set the tone for the book, didn't it?
Yeah,
The
definitely.
look, the feel, the style, which we are really pleased with. We cannot wait to share the new book with you. It's going to be great. If you want a copy, you can pre-order it on petersidwell.com. Okay, so all I've done is use my fingertips. I've worked the butter into the flour, and it's kind of like a crumble mixture, okay? Now, a little well in the middle. And then we're going to add 300 mils of milk, okay?
So why milk and not water?
Just enriches it.
Right.
Yeah, so the whole
that.
point is to make a nice enriched dough. You could add water if you wanted to.
Okay.
And if you wanted to make it more dairy-free, you could add a plant-based butter into it and plant-based milk. That's fine.
Could you do half and half of water and milk if you...
Yeah, if you want to.
I mean, I know it's not obviously a healthy recipe, but...
No. You could use, half and half if you want to. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
So all I'm doing is I'm not kneading the bread at this point, okay? I'm just working it together, and you can kind of see it's a nice, loose, hydrated dough. It's not a really tight, like pizza-based type dough. It's got a looseness to it, okay?
Is it something you could do in your mixer if you've got...
Absolutely. If you've got a mixer like that kind of thing,
Yeah.
chuck it all in there. Let it do its thing. It's no problem at all. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I've mixed that dough. I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to put it in the fridge. Now, I like to do it overnight. I just whack it in the fridge. I make this of an evening, whack it in the fridge, come back to it the next day. But it needs at least a couple of hours in the fridge just to allow the butter to firm back up. And the dough will be easier to manage. Now, I'll show you. I've got a dough here. And you can see that it's a lot easier to handle. If I turn this out, I'm just going to get some flour. Okay, right. Some flour on my hands. Just rub your hands together and get all that dough off, just so that I can work a bit easier. Do you like a cinnamon swirl?
Oh, it's one of my favourites.
It is mine.
Yeah.
I do love them.
Homemade ones are definitely the best.
So, you can see, like,
Crikey, yeah.
if you handle that, just feel that piece of dough there, and then stick your hands in there. That's the same recipe.
Oh, crikey.
But it's really sticky, isn't it? So you can see the dough is completely different just by leaving it in the fridge, okay? It's much easier to manage, much easier to handle because it's cold, okay? So all I'm going to do is just a little bit of flour there. I'm just going to let that rest just for a minute while we do the filling. Now, what have I got here? So we've got some brown sugar and some butter. I'm just going to melt this in a pan, okay, to one side. We're not going to boil it, I'm just going to melt it gently. And then we're going to add some zest of oranges, and I've got some ground cinnamon. So I'm just going to add the cinnamon in, okay?
Obviously, I know they're cinnamon swirls.
Yeah.
Cinnamon swirl bread. Is there anything that you like? So obviously, you've got your basic dough there.
Yeah.
Is there any of the flavours you could recommend?
Yeah. Nutella and hazelnuts.
So I was just thinking of then your espresso curd.
Yeah.
That would be really good in
Espresso curd, you could lemon curd and poppy seeds, you could swirl through it.
Quite nice summer.
Cheese and Marmite.
Had to go and ruin it, didn't you?
You could go savoury. Like you could put Parma ham and mustard and cheese through it, and the sweetness would work really well.
To the saltiness.
But like you could do, I think in Poland they have a really high poppy seed and lemon paste that they put through. For me, like cinnamon, brown sugar, oranges. We've actually got blood oranges today because of the season. We've just been doing some photography with them. So you can use any oranges you like, not a problem. It's just, we just happen to have a couple of blood oranges today. But yeah, just think of a flavour combo like raspberry jam and grated almond paste. That'd be nice.
Oh. Yeah, that sounds
what could you
really
do?
good.
You could maybe like blend some tinned peaches with a bit of butter so it firms up. You could spread that with some almonds, peach and almond. That would work.
Yeah.
You know, anything light really. You could just do brown sugar. You know, just that sweet, sticky. You could caramel through there, whatever you like. So Biscoff, that would work, wouldn't it? Everyone likes a bit of Biscoff, don't they?
Yeah, that sounds good.
So can you see, I'm just sort of warming this. I'm trying to just melt the butter. I'm not trying to boil it or cook it. I'm just going to add the orange zest in while it's just melting, all right? The fragrance comes from the zest, okay? The acidity comes from the juice. Orange and cinnamon just sort of work really well together.
It wasn't a combination I'd thought
No?
until you said.
It's almost a little bit Christmassy,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Well, we're still in that kind of like...
mincemeat. Mince pie filling in there. You could do that at Christmas. That would be a good one.
Yeah.
Right. I think if I get a wooden spoon, we could just press this together now. So if I just put that there, let's stir this together because I don't want it to be too hot.
Yeah.
I just want it to be spreadable almost.
Is this something that can be kind of done in advance a little bit, all of these
definitely.
things?
Yeah. You could make this up and just keep it in the fridge if you wanted to.
Yeah.
And put as much or as little cinnamon. Obviously, we've put a measurement in. We've tested it. But you can put more in if you like. You could put a bit of nutmeg, mixed spice, kind of whatever takes your fancy. Right, back to our dough. So a little bit of flour. Just use your hands. Press it down to begin with, okay? So we're going to make this kind of a tear and share, like something that people go, oh, that looks amazing, and then everyone could tuck in and it's easy, all right? So we're just going to roll the dough out to about 1/2 centimetre thick.
And see how soft and like pliable it is.
Yeah, but obviously because we've cooled it in the fridge, it's manageable.
Yeah.
If we left that one out, it'd be really hard to handle, and you'd end up adding more flour, which seizes the dough and makes it tighter and less nice.
Yeah.
It's just not as nice. So you've got to make a bit of patience, a bit of planning, okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to cut lots of these circles out, all right? Which you will see why in a minute. It really does take me back to when we first started seriously photographing this book.
That feels like quite a long time ago now.
No, it's not. I think it was just before Christmas. I think.
Yeah, Pete, we're knocking some days out here, though.
No, edging to spring.
Oh.
Wild garlic. I picked my first wild garlic the other day.
Ooh, I do love wild garlic.
That's when you know spring's coming.
Yep.
Right, lift all those edges out. We're going to re-roll that again in a minute, so don't worry about that. Okay, now we've got all our little pieces. Take some of your spice and just a little bit on each one, yeah? Like literally half a teaspoon on each one. Don't go mental with it. Otherwise it'll just be oozing everywhere. Okay, and then we're just gonna carefully pile them on top. Maybe do like 8.
Yeah.
And then we'll move on to the next one. Okay. So you just end up with little piles of dough.
I like it.
See, I think I'd made this before you came in.
I think you had, yes. I've never seen it being made like this.
Okay. So, got our butter wrapper. We're just going to take like a bundt tin type. A little bit of butter on there, and then what we do is we just put them all in there like that. Okay, get the next lot, put all them in there like that. Get the next lot, and you can see we're only sort of like 2/3 round. So what we're going to do, take the rest of our dough, and we'll do the same again. So, pile those up, we've got a bit more space. Let's just transfer these ones in as well. Yeah, look. And don't worry about it like being absolutely perfect, because what's going to happen is it's going to prove up, fill the tin, and it's going to look absolutely amazing, all right? So what we need to do is, we've got a little bit more sugar here, cinnamon. Just dot that around if you want to, absolutely fine, because it will all just fill in there. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to leave this for about half an hour, all right? In this kitchen, under these studio lights, it will prove in half an hour. If you live somewhere that's a lot colder, it will take longer, all right? So it's about visually looking and going, all right, okay, yeah, that's doubled in size, that's ready to go. We will bake this at 180 degrees because normally you would bake bread at like 200 or 200 plus. Because we've got sugar in here and we've enriched it with butter, you need to bake it at slightly lower temperature for slightly longer. Otherwise, it'll bake really high on the outside and be very dark brown and not cooked in the middle. So 180 degrees once it's doubled in size. Okay, so you can see the cinnamon tear and share bread. Look, it has doubled in size, okay? So it's just starting to protrude up above the top. It's ready to go. It's all light and fluffy and looking delicious. It's going in the oven, 180 degrees. It's probably going to take 30 to 40 minutes till it's golden, bubbling. Cinnamon and orange is all melted in the middle. It's going to be delish.
Yep.
Right, here is our cinnamon swirl. Look, you can see everything that's kind of blended and baked into itself. But there you go, look. Turns out nice and easily. I could turn this over actually and it'd be much easier. Perfect with a cup of coffee. And all we're going to do, I'll cut it open in a minute and we'll have a little try. But it seems like a good idea to have a cup of coffee with this.
Mm.
And then look, can you see into there, Emily?
1 second, just show this camera. Yep. Nice.
There we go. Oh, look at that. Oh, orange, cinnamon, sugars. I know a little man who's on his way home from school who's going to absolutely love this. But let's cut a bit open. Oh. There you go. Have a try that, Emily.
Oh, thank you.
But there you go. That is how to make the most delicious cinnamon tear and share bread.